Welcome to the second part of this afternoon's section. I'm Markus Grassl. I'm teaching here at the MDW at the Department of Musicology and Performance Studies, and I have the pleasure to guide us, as it were, through this session. We will have two lecture recitals and a paper, and the first two of these will deal with Mattheson. So like the errors in Robert's presentation, we approach Germany now. And I have the pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Jean-Christophe Dijoux. As you all know, I assume a harpsichordist with a very broad range of interests and, of course, broad repertoire, which goes from the 16th century up to especially also contemporary harpsichord music. And Jean-Christophe had studied in Paris, in Freiburg at Breisgau, and in Basel, and afterwards he started a really impressive career, winning several prestigious keyboard competitions as for example, most prominently harpsichord competition in Leipzig, and is also member of several renowned ensembles such as Les Talents Lyriques, Le Parlement de Musique, or the Bach Collegium Japan. And as a teacher, Jean-Christophe is currently professor for harpsichord and fortepiano at the Musikhochschule in Freiburg in Breisgau, where he is also the head of the Department of Historical Performance Practice. Yeah, and we all are looking forward to your presentation. So the floor is yours.
So thank you very much, Markus. And first of all, I would like to thank, of course, the MDW for organizing that wonderful symposium. Augusta Campagna, of course, Magdalena, of course, thank you very much, and all the team, of course, behind this event. Yes, I will speak about Mattheson's Große Generalbachschule, which is one of the key works of the Basso Continuo in Germany in the first half of the 18th century, and also has, on many aspects, a lot to do with the partimento practice as well. So, this quote, das alles aneinander hängt, so that everything holds together, so to say, is a quote from the explication following the fourth Probstück of the second part of the second class, Oberklasse, of this work. Just to have a bit of context, so the Große Generalbachschule is actually the second state of a work already published in 1719 in Hamburg as Organistenprobe, and then Mattheson reworked on it and published it again, verbesserte Fassung, in 1731 in Hamburg. So we've got actually three parts. So a first part, which is a Vorbereitung, so a preparation, which deals actually not with necessarily with practical examples, but is more actually a kind of dissertation in a way on many aspects of the practice. And then you've got the second part, which is the Mittelklasse, the middle class, consisting in 24 easy examples, and then the Oberklasse, the upper class, with 24 difficult examples. So all these examples are actually single bass lines. So you don't. This is basso continuo, but solo, so to say. And after each score, actually, you've got an explication in which Mattheson deals with the different aspects he wants to tackle in the piece. So, to come back to this quote, of course, when he says everything holds together, he thinks about counterpoint, one of the most important aspects in the grosse Generalbachschule is, of course, the way of using motifs which come from the bass in the realization. But it's not the only thing to which actually this rely, actually. It's also a matter of studying style. For example, this Probstück will be in the style of lourd, French lourd. This Probstück will be in the style of Italian toccata. This in the style of aria da capo from the opera. So, and dealing with this in turn, the harpsichordist or the organist just acquires some capabilities in a way in order to be a full common clavicembalist. So the genres are very important too. Of course, the way of playing, so the really instrumental aspect. How do I deal with this noten material, so to say, in order to make actually the harpsichord sound? And probably the most important thing of all, this is a step towards composition, because actually at the end, what's the aim of all this is to be able actually to compose, and at best to compose for the opera, which is actually for him actually the kind of achievement that any musician should look for. So when at the beginning of the piece, Mattheson already quotes actually Heinichen as the most important thing to owe actually in one's library and to study in order to be able to make your way through the grosse Generalbachschule without too many problems, which means also that this work is per se a work for professionals. So we are not now in a dimension where we are beginning from scratch. One has already, when he begins with the middle class, one has to be able also already to deal with the basso continuo practice. So I would suggest to begin with a piece. I hope this is readable, but I wanted to, well, generally speaking, I'm not always a fan of having music, on screen when playing music, because then, you've got the eye working instead of the ear most of the time, but I think for today it's really necessary. So this is Probstück from the middle class. And Mattheson says in the explication, this is not a canary, so it's not a quick jig, but it's a slow one, so more in the in the spirit of a lourd. And he says, if so, we have to ornamentate the bass accordingly. So with long port de voix and short prickle, crackling trills. I will play that maybe to begin, and then we will we'll add some considerations on this.
Is okay? Can you read? No. Then you will hear less, but at least you can read.
Oh, thank you. So of course you can notice the key, which is not necessarily usual. We are in G sharp minor, This is still the middle class. So one should be able actually to play in this kind of keys from the outset, so to say. And you can see at the end, you've got a different key signature with some flats. Exactly. So he's telling us you've got the choice. You could also write it with flats if you want to, but actually it's the same. I'm simplifying a lot, of course, but this is the idea. So it fits actually also his theories because he was advocating actually a tuning which would allow to play in all the keys, which is quite a recurrent thing in this region at the time. So. So maybe some little considerations, because actually the text isn't without problems either. For example, if you look at this, that I didn't do, it's quite surprising to have this at this place of the bar. I would be happy to discuss it with colleagues afterwards, but so I chose not to do it. This is, by the way, also one feature of this print that you've got sometimes also some some typos actually, so in the printing. And Mattheson also says, and I will come to that later, that okay, maybe my Bezifferung, my numbers are a bit small to read, but Anyhow, if you are a good general bassist, you don't need them. So who cares? So, maybe for now, the most important thing that I would like to stress is, of course, that, and this is what he asked in the explication, to use a motif that you had in the bass before or afterwards in the realization in order to make it work as an imitation. And this is what I choose to do here. So, so far from that, according to him, actually, of course, this way of reusing actually motifs is very important. It can be seen at different levels. So here, for example, I took la dimba di la ti ta ta. So all this, so to say, I put it there, starting from the F sharp. But it could be, of course, more shorter motifs. We are now in the Oberklasse. So this is the piece opening actually the last part of the Große Generalbassschule. And as you see, we've got a lot of this kind of motifs in 30 seconds. And so on, and it's everywhere to be found. And I quote him because I find it quite interesting. He says, die schwarzen Noten, Zitat, zeigen vielmehr etwas Freudiges als Betrübtes an. Also, these black notes show more actually joy as something which is, in trouble. So please don't be in stress when you see them. Everything will be okay. Und sind lauter Merkmale eines munteren Gemüts, einer hurtiges Geistes und eines fröhliches Herzens. Also das hat eigentlich mit dem Charakter zu tun. Und das ist vielleicht auch one another characteristics of this piece is that he never, although of course he's got a very, florid way of writing, and I have to confess, as a French, I absolutely love the way he writes in German, and he never loses actually the aim, which is to serve the affect, and of course this is to be, put in connection with the other writings that we know from him, of course, the Kapellmeister, but not only. So here, with this motif in 30 seconds, he proposes in the explication, which begins there. So as you see, the piece is quite long, which is also actually a feature of the Oberklasse. The pieces are longer. I wouldn't say that they are technically much more difficult than those of the middle class, because actually the middle class is already very difficult from the outset. And he says, when we've got this spot in the bass, we could actually do that. Yeah, so... and so on. This is a very usual thing that he asks us to do, actually. Still in this idea to reuse the material that you have in the bass, we've got this spot in the second page. And here is the realization that he asks us to do. Well, he suggests us to do, because he always says, I write this as a suggestion. You don't have to do it, exactly as I say. If you find something better, that's very good. And what he also asks to do is to have, and I will come to that later too, to have the left hand playing full chords. So it would be something like this. And so on, yeah. So that you've got actually the free right hand to do everything that you want, and you still have actually the fullness of the harmony, which is actually seems to be something important for him and for also Hainischen, to not to be too, how do you say, too thin. He says less than 3 voices is not a thorough bass anymore. This is really a quote from this work. So that's probably why. Although, of course, this practice is not new at his time. This is this Vollgriffig here and here just one voice. You've got that in music earlier than that. So I guess I'm going to play it now. And to put it for you. Yeah, I forgot to say, of course. He could have carried on with the same thing. So you've got, he could have done, which is not false, of course, but he lays a lot of importance about varying things. So he says actually, die Abwechslung ist der Musik wahres Element. The changing, the variety is the most important thing in the music. And this is here also a quote from the Große Bassschule, which also tackles with this question. So I come to that afterwards. Let's listen to it. Thank you. Sorry, you couldn't have the end. Just a few further things. As you heard, I made some, arpeggios, also tremolo, sorry, which is also an important feature that you find immer wieder, always in the course of this work. He's not the only one, of course, advocating for that. Hainischen is also describing a lot of ways of doing arpeggios and tremoli. So this is what we find in the explication of this piece, but already in the middle class you've got a lot of them. So this is from the very first piece of the middle class. So this is actually a thing that you find by Hainischen as well. Still this idea, to have the harmony being full and present. And these are the examples that you find only in the middle class. Only in the middle class. So it can be very varied, and he says, if you have time and if you want to explore in that field, please do. And I think this is, again, actually, this idea of making actually the harpsichord sound and trying things out in order to make it fit actually the effect of the piece and also to have the plentiness of the harmony. So I will now move on. Yes, this is about because I began about this piece speaking of the imitation. So this is a quote about imitation. So we just saw in the former piece imitation on very small motifs. It can be, of course, on longer motifs. And this is the second Probstück, which are things which are actually quite simple in the concept, but I will play it anyway. And so on. And we have to carry on that way. It could also be on even longer sequences, and then I come to the sixth Probstück of the Oberklasse in F. So as you see, we can find again these little motifs, but here in a different character. And I would say the trick here is to find where to begin the imitation and with what, actually. So if you look, actually, you can see not, necessarily trying to dive very thoroughly into the notes, but here you've got a changing of writing there in the second bar of the second page. And actually, this is precisely where we should make actually the motif combine, so that way. So this is the beginning that you have to play in the right hand, right? Whilst playing actually that on the left hand, also with full chords, actually, he asks. So basically, I don't know in how much it was possible, and I think it was still possible for the people of that time to have such, to be able to actually to foresee what they would be willing to do in the course of the piece. Okay, that fits here, so I can put that there. Of course, this is it seems, of course, for us maybe today not immediately obvious, but I think this is things that one can learn. So I would suggest that we listen to that too. So Mattheson doesn't ask, paradoxically, not officially, to put actually the motif that you've got on the bass in the second page on the first page. So I tried out just to explore to see if it's possible to do it, and actually it's mostly possible. So I would propose something, and we'll play that now. Sorry, that was the end. Yes, just a few further points. As you see here, suddenly you don't have, you've got a lot of rest actually in the bass. And he says actually one should actually use the material that you've got here in order to find some motifs here in order to get there. So I tried that with also a mix of that. And one another feature which is not always easy to tackle with in this music is also the fact that this bass sometimes denote actually more than just one note, but actually an interval in the harmony. For example, if you look at here, sorry, so you've got a polyphony, a hidden polyphony actually. Sorry, mi, do, sol, do, do. Pardon. This is actually that. This is actually a 7 chord. And of course, once you've seen that, actually you recognize the sequence and it's more easy. But sometimes it can be a bit puzzling. So now I'm coming to another point of another feature of this work, and of Mattheson's views on music, generally speaking. Yes. So he says, the one who can't speak, he can't sing. Well, he can even less sing. And who can't sing can't play. So this is a quite famous quote. But these kind of things you find also all the time in the Große Bassschule as well, like this. The art to do a good melody is actually the most essential in the music. So, and maybe one has to make a little stop now and to emphasize the fact that Mattheson was also involved in the most furious fights of his time in music theory. He couldn't bear actually Rameau's views, for example, and he was really strongly advocating for the art of inventing good melodies and also for big intervals. Excuse me. This is also true even in the tremolo. He says if you've got a tremolo like this, it's not nice because it's too narrow. So he pleads for that with briefs, I would say, more. So in the fifth Probstück of the Oberklasse, you've got a place in the piece which is marked si suona, so one place. Probably in the Italian style. He says one can't actually describe the way it should actually sound. It should actually sound the most natural and not forced at all. This is, for example, here a proposal. So actually the bass is there. Pardon. Something in the way. And also here, he also says the left hand has to play full chords, and the right hand should be alone and play its solo. So I would propose to illustrate this in this piece, which is again not in a G sharp minor but in A flat minor, from the upper class. And it's interesting because it's a real aria da capo. So you've got actually the ritornal there. which stops there. Here you've got the entry of the singer till there. Here the B part, and then the da capo ending there. So I will try to illustrate this with this foligraphy here and solo in the right hand. So, and to end this contribution, I would like to actually, tackle a bit the question of actually what could one do actually with these 48 pieces as a harpsichord or organ player, because actually, in the end, this is the aim of the thing. What do we get from that? Mattheson always says when he, for example, when he gives examples, I give these examples. They work, but if you find something better, please do. And he also quite regularly says, "I've said it one time, so I won't say it again." Of course, he says it again, but so I think he expects actually from us reading his work that we take actually some habits in the way of dealing with some bases like this. So I took this Probstück of the middle class, and I will end with that one. He says in the explication, this is actually bloße Übung. This is actually the only aim of the piece is actually to work on repeated octaves, because actually as soon as you've got this figure, you have to play octaves. So that way, right? And he says, if you want to explore and stagger actually the two hands, you're welcome to do so. So I will play it. I think it will be easy to identify. So, but my question was more here. Would it be possible to make out of this bass something more than a bloße Übung? So I tried out exploring with, of course, the octaves that he wants to have, but also to this what I described before, in order to make a kind of sinfonia con le trombe, because the key also fits this quite well, and I mean the writing is quite near to this idea. I mean, it's quite easy to imagine some trumpets there and some pauken, and he says when you stagger actually the repeated chords, it is pauked. I think this is probably the aim of the thing. Actually, not only to extend the musical, the sounding room towards the low register. So actually, in the same idea as a 16-foot on the organ, but also to have a more a kind of orchestra dimension to the continuo playing. Thank you very much. So I think this might be also the spirit of this work. Actually, once you acquire actually way of doing, the manière de faire, we would say in French, you can of course look at the former pieces with another eye, so to say. So that would be my contribution. I would just conclude on the idea that 8 years before the Vollkommene Kapellmeister, we're already there, actually in the idea of the Vollkommene Klaviersensualist or the organist, because actually this is already composition in a way. Of course, you've got all the the reflexes, the language features that you find in the Partimento schools, which are, of course, there. I mean, also in those regions at the time. But I think these matters, these mixes, so to say, with a kind of organ, and I would say North German culture of the organ, which makes it quite particular. And I also find actually this way of tackling the style and the different features of each genre quite typical of the Enlightenment, actually. So he wants to tackle actually everything, not maybe in the same spirit as Quantz will do later, so very methodically. There is still here a kind of plaisir du texte, a pleasure of the text that is quite typical of, how do you say, Hofmann, Cortegiano. You understand what I mean? So, but still, he wants to have a kind of overview of everything which is been made at his time in music, and the basso continuo is one of the means with which one can achieve this at best. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jean-Christophe, for this clear and vivid insight. And I completely agree, this was always my impression with this Mattheson writing. That's kind of the idea of a kind of encyclopedic and comprehensive, giving a broad range about the whole music at his time. Yeah. So any questions or comments?
I have a question. Bravo, first of all, for beautiful realization, and thank you for a very clear presentation of Mattheson's work. This connects a bit with this discussion we had before about simple texture and full texture with chords. You have moments of fast notes of the bass that you really cannot play chords with the left hand, but you also had slow notes where you play chords with the left hand. And this is something that you see also in Italian music, like in Alessandro Scarlatti. And he also does the opposite. So he uses chords on the right hand to accompany the solos of the bass. Mm-hmm. So could you say something about these differences, and what if you can also do that with the right hand?
Yeah, this is interesting that you say that, because it's actually something that I experimented in one of my realization of the fifth Probstück of the upper class, when it was obviously a bass solo. And I choose actually to have full chords, of course, there, and to have the bass more ornamented. So I think at the end, because I have the feeling it's quite easy actually to land actually in some, how do you say that in English? Well, I would say some conceptions which are actually, just coming out of the oven, that we say in French. And I think the way, the flexibility between the different way of playing was probably greater than we think. I would, at least I would, put this question on the table. And I think at the end, the most important thing is when you've got this note material in front of you is to, okay, what is at stake actually? Where is it actually the most interesting? What would I like to highlight? And which tool do I have at disposal in order to make that? So, but I'm happy if Alessandro Scarlatti does that as well.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, yeah.
Thank you. Also for a wonderful presentation. I wanted to ask if you have anything, any comments on. You quoted at some point the phrase less than 3 parts is no continuo playing, and these are clearly solo pieces.
Yeah.
So are they harpsichord pieces? Is it continuo playing? Is it something in between? That's my
that's interesting. So let me put maybe this again. Darf ich? Because I think it would be easier to look at so it's for that because then I can probably answer better to your question if we look at one piece. Yes, so let's do it like this. Non, c'est pas ça que je veux. Sorry, it's coming. Yes. This is the Bruchstück in C minor of the upper class. And you see this, this passage, right? So this place. He says here one should actually play in 2 voices with third and sixth. So actually it does exist. And he says at the same time, actually, it's in another context. I mean, here, well, I mean, this piece is quite much in the spirit of a, organ piece, and these kind of things. Sorry. Pardon. So that's this kind of things you find in the literature of the organ literature. And when he spoke about this less than 3 voices is not basso continuo anymore, it's not the same kind of texture actually. So I think again it depends on the context, but I think per se the 2 voices is not to be excluded absolutely of the. I mean, and if we go from the point that, as Heinischen says, well, implies. And as also Mattheson says that every solo piece is actually a very refined basso continuo realization. So you look at the solo pieces of the time and you've got a lot of 2 voices things as well. So I think maybe we tend to, this is a question that I often ask myself, maybe we tend actually to put too much fronters between things, and again, that's actually the permeability was more big than what we think.
Okay, thank you very much. I would suggest that we proceed to the next paper in order to not to come too much out of schedule, but not before thanking once more to Jean-Christophe for his beautiful presentation.